is a mountain bike race in Selva Gardena in the Dolomite Mountains in Italy. There's a 50-kilometre classic race and the 82-kilometre marathon. Competitors come from all over for the toughest mountain bike race in Europe. There's 8 different categories for the men's and the women's, and federation members or amateurs for both the 50 and 82-kilometre loops. The 82-kilometre marathon race is split up into 36 k's of single track, 35 kilometres off-road and 11 kilometres on-road. It all kicks off in Selva Gardena, 1,563 metres above sea level, and starts with a 558-metre climb up to Passo Gardena. Some 1,500 bikers from 23 countries took their places on the start line, which was the same for both races. Some big names were there: Katrin Schwing and Barbara Kaltenhauser of Germany, Italian triple medalists at the Ski World Champions Christoph Innerhofer and fellow Italian Peter Phil, who also medalled in Garmisch, mountain bike marathon European champion Alexei Medvedev of Russia, Mirko Celestino, the #1 in the UCI rankings, and bronze medalist at the mountain bike marathon World Championships. So the second edition of the race got underway between 4 and 5 hours in the saddle ahead, and an overall altitude difference of grueling 4,200 metres. Certainly plenty to test the riders' climbing and downhill skills. Well, early on, Celestino, Fontana, Di Bertolis and Ragnoli were all grouped together. But the European champion, the Russian Alexei Medvedev, had pushed into an early lead on the first climb, making a push for the Passo Gardena prize, which was given for the first rider to make it there. In the women's race, German rider Katrin Schwing had put some distance between herself and the rest. Medvedev, though, still going well, and wins the €200 prize on the peak of Dante Ceppi's for being the first rider to the Gardena Pass after the opening climb. Certainly left the rest trailing in his wake, but they were making steady progress as the start group began to split up. Well, Katrin Schwing has earned herself an early lead in the women's marathon race. Anna Ferrari, the winner of the first edition last year, is doing her best to close the gap to Schwing. Meanwhile, skiing champion Christoph Innerhofer was keeping it steady on the first uphill to Passo Gardena. Celestino and Di Bertolis reaching the summit of Dante Ceppi's Gardena Pass, but have work to do to catch Medvedev, the Russian holding firm on the first downhill to Kovada, as he became the first rider past 10 kilometres. This is Kirsten Neelan of Belgium on the downhill to Kovada, doing her best to close the gap on Katrin Schwing. Well, the second climb of the day was a 589-metre ascent up to Prolongia before a 282 descent onto the Campolongo Pass. Medvedev still leading here and was alone on his way towards the next summit. Celestino, Ragnoli, Johan Palhuber and Mike Felderer were his closest challengers in pursuit. It was pure pain for many of the riders amongst the beautiful scenery of the Dolomites. Medvedev would drop past the 20-kilometre mark on the downhill from Prolongia, still leading the way. Certainly made a bright start, but there was just 1 or 2 signs that his pace was perhaps dropping off. As the chasing pack made their way down the descent, the gap was beginning to close between the leader and the hot pursuiters. Beautiful, bright, sunny day. Temperatures at points really soaring, making life difficult for the racers. Some technical sections as well. But it was Medvedev who was looking good and leading the way. Question was, would he tire? Because there was 3 more big climbs to come. And the third big climb of the race would take the riders up 476 meters to the highest point in Sorosas, 2,351 meters of altitude. The village of Araba in the Passo Campolongo was the second checkpoint, where mechanical and medical attention was available for either injured rider or bike. Medvedev's still leading, but the chasers are pulling even closer on the uphill to Sorosas. Group of 4 working hard to close the distance between themselves and the Russian. At this point, Mirko Celestino and Yuri Ragnoli have overtaken Medvedev and are jointly leading the race as the Russians' challenge looks like it could be over. And the leading group is now reaching Porto Vescovo. Celestino and Ragnoli riding together and continue to pull away from Medvedev. The men's race is now beyond halfway. Unlike in the men's race where Medvedev is falling off, the early leader is still there. The German Katrin Schwing still leading as the female riders pass the halfway point. They're beginning to spread out a bit now. Barbara Kaltenhauser of Germany in second place. She's ahead of Caritha Munoz of Spain, who's in third. Anna Ferrari, the first ever winner of the women's hero race last year, the Italian, has to be content with fourth. At this point, the marathon riders are over halfway with about 45 kilometers covered. They'll be dropping down before another climb to Canazei. Mirko Celestino and Yuri Ragnoli are still the leaders, and on the downhill to the Pordoi Pass. Ragnoli, though, would show better descending ability. Started to edge away from Celestino to get himself into the slightest of leads. And that would get bigger. Yuri Ragnoli has got himself more of a lead approaching the Pordoi Pass, leaving Celestino behind. Celestino would find a second wind and make up the lost ground as the 2 riders reach the pass together. This big downhill section drops the riders beyond 50 k's and 789 meters into the Val di Fassa Valley, into the village of Canazei. A real test of the riders' descending abilities. Stone City, this is where the 50 kilometers and the 82 kilometer tracks divide. Italian Stefano Del Grande is the leader on the short course and about 15 kilometers from victory. But there's still another 30 k's for the marathon riders in their pursuit to become the hero. World Championship skier Christoph Innerhofer has suffered some technical problems with his bike. Rear wheel puncture for Innerhofer. Frustrating, but with a bit of assistance, he got it mended and would soon be on his way. Katrin Schwing, who's led the women's event from the start, is still alone, fending off any challenge from the chasing riders, passing some of the male competitors on her way as well. Barbara Kaltenhauser still in second place, making another charge for the front. A gap, though, has developed in the men's race, with Mirko Celestino now leading at this point in the Valderon Valley as he headed towards the last summit on the Durham Pass. Yuri Ranioli is chasing but struggling to close in. Russian Medvedev is still amongst the contenders but down in third. In the women's, Anna Ferrari is pushing hard but still behind Katrin Schwing and Barbara Kaltenhausen. The Durham Pass takes the riders up to 2,280 metres on a vertical climb of 866 from Campitello. This is the fourth and final big climb of the race. Mirko Celestino leads on the climb to Durham Pass and makes it up to the peak first to win the second peak prize of the day. Medvedev had won the first on the Dante Ceppi's. It's downhill though, all the way from here. Yuri Ranioli was the second rider up the Durham Pass. Mirko Celestino was enjoying the payback for all the tough climbs with a fast downhill to Selva Gardena. Celestino looking good at this point, and surely there was nothing that could stop him from winning the race, save a few horses on the horse ranch. But then almost disaster for Celestino as he collides with a hiker on the track. Well, no time to check if the rider is okay. Remounted, continued the race, recovered from his incident, and took the title in 4 hours, 26 minutes, 7 seconds. Yeah, 25 kilometres before the finish. I've tried to attack and I wanted to see if I could leave the competitors behind me. I found out that I could. It was a good advantage and I could win. Although I had a bit of an incident, I had a bad crash and I was hurt and a bit injured, but I managed to hold it together. Yuri Ranioli came second. I was a little bit afraid that somebody would catch me before the finish, but my legs were still good and I'm very happy about getting on the podium. And after the good start, Alexei Medvedev was third. Yeah, today I wanted to win the first peak prize, that was my main goal, and then see what happened from there. I didn't think I'd get on the podium, so third place is very good. So Mirko Celestino then the winner in a time of nearly half an hour quicker than Klaus Fontana won the first edition last year. Yuri Ranioli second, Medvedev in third, Johan Pauber in fourth with Mike Felderer in fifth. Katrin Schwing was the female winner, Barbara Kaltenhausen second, and Anna Ferrari the first winner last year in the female event, finishing third but on the podium again.